Good Monday afternoon. Welcome into the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours discussing sports topics of local, regional, and national interest. So buckle up. Heck of a weekend this weekend. Got a lot of great stuff going on this week, and I think we've got a pretty good show today, Wade. Second hour, we'll be visiting with NUBYJAS Wilborn of alltitans.com, just getting caught up on the Tennessee Titans as they have finished their June work and got a few weeks off before they come back in late July and get ready for the 2024 season. In our next segment, we'll be joined by Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon from Omaha, where national number one seed Tennessee has taken care of that national number one seed to this point with a pair of wins in the Men's College World Series. So we'll check in with him and get some thoughts, and plenty of other stuff to go on. A little baseball, a little basketball, a little hockey, a little golf. So plenty to go around. And Wade, what are your thoughts about it?
Man, yeah, no shortage of topics to get into, and golf is for once kind of been a huge talking point over the last 24 hours. So more on that still to come, but you're right. We got to savor these precious days, Mo, because a couple of these topics are going to fall by the wayside here very shortly, and then we just get into the nitty gritty. We have to start putting on our thinking caps coming up sooner than later.
Yeah, the show may get a little harder to plan here. Actually, kind of expected a couple of those topics to fall by the wayside this weekend, but we'll get more into that here as the show progresses. So yeah, lots to talk about. So we're going to talk about it. Hey, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good, no complaints. Nice and relaxing. Saturday went out, double duty on Saturday. Went out. Giles County EMS had a really cool, kind of a staged, what would you call it? Kind of a mass emergency type situation. So went out and caught some photos of a lot of different variety of law enforcement in kind of a crisis situation or simulation there. And then from there, Giles County Pulaski celebrated their Juneteenth celebration on Saturday. So went down to W.D. Savage Park. They had a big time this weekend. A lot of fun. That was on Saturday. And then yesterday, I'll tell you a little more during our hockey segment. But okay. I got to tick one off the bucket list yesterday. Got to broadcast a little hockey down in Alabama. So
I saw that you broadcast some hockey, and I was not aware of any ice in Pulaski or Giles County. So I was wondering about that. So yeah, I look forward to the update.
Absolutely. Yeah, had to flee south, so it was not bad. And then you were kind of giving us a brief before we went on air. Sounds like you had a big weekend as well, right?
Man, I had a interesting weekend.
A hot weekend, if nothing else.
Hot weekend. Yeah, I took on the task of umpiring some 18-year-old open ball over here in Franklin in the heat of the day Saturday. I had a 3:00 game and a 5:00 game, and of course the early game was behind the plate. So yeah. Your boy made it through though, but man, water is your friend.
Slamming waters on Saturday. There ain't no doubt about that.
So, but yeah, we made it through, and we got back to the Lee Company studios here. You in Pulaski, me here in Franklin, and we are excited. So let's go ahead and get it underway with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Hey folks, the Monday Rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County, so give them a call today. That's 931-388-5831. Or you can visit their website at zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Friday's Major League Baseball action of our interest, I guess. The Braves opened their 3-game series against visiting Tampa Bay with a 7-3 victory. Houston with a 4-0 shutout of the Tigers. Big win for the Astros there. On Saturday, it was the Tigers 13, the Astros 5. Braves 9-2 over the Rays. And on Sunday, The Rays got an 8-6 victory. We'll talk more about that one as the show progresses. And the Astros got a 4-1 win. So, yeah, solid weekend for both Wade and I at the Major League Baseball level. Not so much for the Sounds as they dropped the final 3 games of their series against the Gwinnett Stripers 1P. It was Gwinnett 12-0 on Friday, 4-3 on Saturday, and 5-4 on Sunday. So Nashville won the first 2, lost the last 4 on the road. Come back home tomorrow. Yeah, tough weekend. WNBA action on Friday. It was the Washington Mystics edging the Chicago Sky 83-81. It was the Minnesota Lynx with an 81-76 win over the Los Angeles Sparks. On Saturday, Connecticut defeated Dallas 85-67, and the Liberty of New York defeated the Aces of Las Vegas 90-82. Sunday, probably heard a little bit about this one. Indiana with a 91-83 victory over Chicago. It was Phoenix 87, Seattle 78, and the Dream of Atlanta with an 87-74 win over the Sparks. And in Major League Soccer this weekend, Nashville Soccer Club went on the road and played the New York Red Bulls to a scoreless draw.
Schedule for today. Thin schedule, but we do have a schedule, and the Tigers are at Atlanta. The Braves will host Detroit tonight beginning at 6:20 p.m. The game can be seen on Bally Sports South. And just one lone WNBA contest tonight, as Dallas will be at Minnesota, and tip-off is set for 7 p.m. As we mentioned last week, the Arena Football League is on bye for the next couple of weekends. More on arena and other football throughout the course of this show. But that kind of brings us to the end of today's schedule. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's rundown.
Today's top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options, which are available until 6 o'clock. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia, bringing you today's top story. And today's top story, the three of us were talking a little bit about this off air before we came on air. Bryson DeChambeau kind of lost his bearings early in the final round, but got things back together and had a little help to win his second U.S. Open over at Pinehurst this weekend, edging out a reeling, Mark, is that fair to say? A reeling Rory McIlroy?
For sure, yes.
Defeated McIlroy by a hole, by a stroke at the U.S. Open for his second, again, U.S. Open victory. So congratulations to him. But wasn't enough to secure a spot on Team USA for the upcoming Olympics, apparently. Qualifying for the Summer Games has come to an end, and the representatives from the U.S. will be Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Wyndham Clark, and Colin Morikawa. They are the number 1, 3, 5, and 7 ranked golfers in the world. And again, DeChambeau falling short of a spot. And I think some of that, Wade, you can kind of help me out help me navigate some of this. But I think a lot of DeChambeau's absence from that group is as a result of him playing as a part of the LIV Golf Tour.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is kind of interesting, and it's not quite as subjective as the other Olympic omission discussion that we had last week. This is pretty much by the book, and rightly or wrongly, Bryson DeChambeau did not have enough points to qualify, and players from the LIV Tour do not receive world golf ranking points for those tournaments. And so as a result, no matter how well he's done on the LIV Tour, it wasn't enough in these others to lift him to that spot where he could be chosen as an Olympic selection. That's the crazy part, Mo, is he's on the cusp of being an Olympic selection and being he's ranked number 10 in the world golf rankings. And that's with not receiving any points for the Live Tour event. So because of his top 6 at the Masters, and then the second place finish we saw just a couple of weeks ago at the PGA, and then yesterday, as you mentioned, was that kind of final event before Olympic qualifying ended. The fact he was even in the discussion shows how crazy good run of form that he's been on these last couple of weeks and months. But it just wasn't enough, and it kind of just comes down to, the fact that he doesn't earn points for those live tournaments. And that was a choice that he made. That was a choice that a lot of golfers made. Right. And this is kind of one of the consequences of that.
Yeah. Top 15 in the official world golf rankings are eligible. No more than 4 players can be selected from any country. And outside the top 15, quote, players will be eligible based on the world rankings, with a maximum of 2 eligible players from each country that does not already have 2 or more players among the top 15. Goodness, that's a little much, especially for somebody that doesn't follow golf real closely. But as you said, DeChambeau is up to number 10 in the official world golf rankings, but he's still behind 5 other Americans in that listing. So again, it's Schauffele, Clark, and Morikawa that will represent the U.S. in Paris later this summer. So, it's tough. And I wonder, if he were not, I don't know how many points he would have gotten for the U.S. Open victory, Wade. And I don't know if you do or not, but I wonder if that would have been enough to punch him through if it weren't for the fact that he is, playing on the Live Tour.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because the U.S. Open was the final event. So he was right on the cusp, it sounds like, with the win, especially, but just not quite enough. And talk about a win. Crazy round yesterday, just kind of like Mark was chatting in our pre-show. Mm-hmm. Had a big lead going into Sunday, and you're thinking, okay, at a U.S. Open, no lead is really kind of safe, but it just felt like, after watching a lot of him on Saturday, it just felt like he was in the zone. He even had a weird deal, though, on Saturday where he had to leave the course briefly to get his hip kind of stretched out, and the cameras were not allowed to shoot, but somebody, of course, magically had a drone that they were able to see, and so he's getting stretched out off in the woods. Just, he's an unusual dude, and it was an unusual day. Mm-hmm. And then that led into Sunday where things were just kind of nip and tuck all afternoon as the guy gets off. Couldn't have really gotten off to a worse start as he bogeys 4, but then Rory comes kind of sneaking back in front, and then down the stretch, Wolf, this is what makes golf such a crazy sport to watch and difficult sport to watch at times, because Rory with a bogey at 15, 16, and 18, and 2 of those, the missed putts were by a combined 6 feet in terms of distance. I mean, it was gut-wrenching to see Rory kind of in that spot. But Bryson kind of just has put himself in a great situation. He had that crazy shot, Mo, from the bunker about 55 yards away. Kind of like Phil Mickelson years and years ago at the Masters where he's in the pine straw. If he doesn't hit that crazy shot out of the straw, probably the tournament goes a different way. And if DeChambeau doesn't lay one up within a couple feet from the bunker yesterday, we're probably talking about a playoff, and we're probably talking about Rory winning that thing in the playoffs. So crazy finish. And, Rory kind of speeds out of there. And I can't blame the guy because, man, talk about a gut punch. Having that tournament, he hadn't won a major in 10 years, I think it was, and being so close with all the weight of the PGA kind of rooting for him versus the Live, it wasn't enough. And then it was crazy because now Bryson has kind of had this weird redemption arc over the last couple of years where he's kind of gone from a real villain to now kind of being rooted for. And the crowd was chanting USA to kind of cheer him on here in the United States versus Rory. It was just a wild scene. It was great for golf. NBC has got to be elated with the way things played out for them yesterday and over the weekend because it was a huge event and a dramatic finish.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, McIlroy overcomes a 3-shot deficit coming into the final day, right? DeChambeau was up 3 coming in, and then, like you said, the wheels kind of fell off temporarily there. And it's the dichotomy of chanting USA for a guy playing on the Live Tour and that kind of thing. Like you said, just a lot going on, and NBC had to really be eating all of it up with the late game drama there. So big day for golf, big day for DeChambeau, tough day for McIlroy. Tough way to lose one.
Yep. And Finau, who finishes third, I watched quite a bit of him on Saturday. He had, and this was the crazy thing about this tournament. I guess all tournaments are like this, Mo, but really the way it played out this way, Finau had a disastrous stretch on Saturday where he basically threw away the whole tournament within about a 2 to 3 hole span. Otherwise, he's maybe in that mix. He finished 3 under yesterday, and if he finished 3 under without that 2 or 3 shot stretch on Saturday, he might be in the mix. So this was a fun tournament. There was some consternation about, whether Pinehurst #2 was up to U.S. Open standards in terms of its difficulty, but we got the drama that we were looking for, and 6 under is your winning score from DeChambeau.
6 under for DeChambeau, 5 under for McIlroy. As you said, Finau and Patrick Cantlay tied for third at 4 under. And what I'm looking at does not take me to Scotty Scheffler.
Finished 8 over, just outside the top 40. He did rebound.
Well, he was fighting it all week, though. I mean, he was right on the cut line after Friday, right?
Yep, had a horrible second round, shot a 74. Never really got it going. He finishes at 8 over, like we said, but a 71-74 is what really got him in a bad situation on Friday, and then 71-72 to close it out for Scotty, who did survive to make the cut, but was never really in true contention.
Right. Let's take a break from the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports today. When we return, we will be joined by Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon to talk a little college baseball, specifically Omaha. Stay tuned after this break.
The wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Superspeedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Superspeedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
And that's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Returning to the Lee Company studios here of our respective abodes, as we are now joined by Caleb JARREAU of the University of Tennessee Daily Beacon, talking a little college baseball. Caleb, how's Omaha?
Well, it's about 90 degrees, feels like 100, and it's supposed to storm the next 2 days. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, it's not the 90 degrees that's the problem, though. Really, it's the storming that's the issue. Now, if it's just the next couple of days, well, you could be affected if things get pushed back. But the fact of the matter is, Tennessee doesn't play for the next couple of days by virtue of yesterday's 6-1 win over North Carolina. They got today and tomorrow off. So, are the guys going to the zoo or what? What are they doing here over this next couple of days that they're off?
Yeah, well, I know they'll have practice at least the next couple of days. I'm sure they'll do some stuff around Omaha. Specifically for Hunter Inslee, he said this win was big, so he can get some rest and rest up that hip or leg or whatever he was dealing with yesterday. So he made sure to mention post-game that it wasn't the only reason the win was important, but it was a pretty big reason. And truthfully, with the 2 days off, I mean, they're in the driver's seat now. If you were to win Wednesday, you're rolling into the championship series with your weekend rotation. So, I mean, the pitching staff is set up nice now. You're going to have basically the whole bullpen available on Wednesday when you face whoever survives between North Carolina and Florida State. So this team is sitting pretty right now.
And who would have expected to say that?
I think a lot of it comes back to this team has been here before. A lot of these guys. I mean, we talked to Dean Curley last night after the game, and he said that when he got to Omaha, everybody just told him what to expect. So whenever he got on the field, saw the bright lights, the big stadium, the Charles Schwab Field, overlooking you as you're playing some of the best teams in the country, it was normal to him because he knew what to expect. So I think last year's trip, and Tony Vitello said it last night as well, last year's trip reigns even more important now that Tennessee has 2 wins and they're sitting in the driver's seat because all of this is normal to them, the weird routine. Now you've got 2 off days. That'll be new, but they know how to deal with off days in Omaha and how to deal with off days on road trips now.
Yeah, and Caleb, go back, feels like a lifetime ago after what we saw yesterday, of course, but let's walk it back to Friday. Tennessee down, obviously, but it didn't feel like they were really, really ever out of it from about the midway mark of the game. Kind of walk us through what you were noticing and kind of the vibes from Omaha as Tennessee chips away, obviously, before that insane comeback in the bottom of the ninth to win it 12-11.
Yeah, I think with this offense, you can never really rule Tennessee out. I mean, 1 through 9, they have guys who can really, get at bats. And I think that was epitomized by that 9th inning. I mean, with 2 outs, you got 3 or 4 hits there. Blake Burke survives that 2-strike check swing, and you still get 3 hits after that to walk it off. So I was with you. It felt like the deficit felt like it was almost like 10 runs, just the way the momentum was going. But Tennessee's offense, you can never rule them out of a game. So we were talking about it yesterday too with North Carolina for their pitcher. Whenever you get through the first 4, and then you still have Kavaris Tears, who hit a home run against Florida State and had another home run tonight. I know, Middle Tennessee native, and there's not a hole in this lineup. You can't take an at-bat off, and that has to get to pitchers. You saw it with Jackson Arnold against Florida State. Jackson Arnold was not a guy who gave up runs, and he tied his season high for runs that he gave up against Tennessee, and that's just the offense it is. You can't take a pitch off. If you miss a pitch, you're going to get punished. And whenever you get runners on, not only do you have runners on, you're working out of the stretch. You can't take a pitch off. You feel like there's no room for error, and that stress on opposing teams wears pitchers down. We saw it against North Carolina, saw it against the very talented left-handed pitcher from Florida State. And I think that's why Tennessee is here now. Obviously, if you want to look back to previous teams, the 22 pitching staff and even the 21 pitching staff, and last year, all of those, I just feel like mano a mano, all of those staffs were probably better than the current one. But what this current staff has is an offense that's going to back it up night in and night out. So, especially against Florida State, too, the offense was never out of it. And then finally in the 9th inning, it came around. I also think something that kind of flew under the radar there is Nate Snead calming the waters for Tennessee, especially after the A.J. Causey running into trouble, Chris Stamos not having a good start. Binky came in, ran into some trouble, too. Nate Snead came in, calmed everything down, threw strikes, still gave up a couple of runs, but it wasn't anything crazy like earlier. So that Nate Snead outing set up the offense to be able to come back and win that game. And as long as the pitching staff keeps Tennessee in games, I don't think anybody will shut down that offense.
Yeah, it seems like the offense, if there was any question about whether they would, kind of maybe wilt a little bit, and I guess that speaks to your point about having been here before, we obviously knew that this offense was capable of producing, but we've also seen over the years kind of disappearing at times. And I think it was so refreshing, not only Friday night, but then we got a little dose of it again yesterday, putting up 6 runs in a pretty nice win versus the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and I think last night felt a lot more as a normal baseball game than Florida State's did. Christian Moore against Florida State had the cycle in the 6th inning, and it just kind of nobody was talking about it because they were losing the game. Well, you get to North Carolina, and a lot of us were talking about it. It felt more like a midweek game where it was like Tennessee took over the game in the 1st or 2nd inning, and there wasn't ever any doubt. And, North Carolina threatened a couple of times, but I think North Carolina's coach said at the postgame, they tried to get Drew Beam in the stretch, and they just couldn't get runners on base to put stress on him. So he rolled 5 innings. You get the umpire delay, which was very strange, and that messes up. I think that's probably what messed up Beam's rhythm to end his day. And then you go 2 innings from Kirby, 2 innings from Nate Snead, and call it a night. So it felt like a very routine game. Vitello called it playing Tennessee's brand of baseball. There wasn't much question. I felt like Tennessee could just do what they wanted to.
Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And Caleb, you spoke to it, pitching, because, this offense is going to do what it does pretty much. They've scored 18 runs in 2 games out there. I don't know how that compares to anybody else, but I think it's probably the most of anybody through 2 games. But, this pitching just has to hold people down just a little bit. They don't have to be lights out. They don't have to throw no hitters, just, string outs together basically. And Beam did that for most of the game yesterday, for most of his appearance, and let the offense work. And to your point, this staff is in a really good place here through 2 games, because I would think to this point, pretty much everybody's available going into Wednesday.
Yeah, I think the only person that probably wouldn't be available is Beam. And then we were also talking about it a little bit last night in the press box. You probably don't want to use Causey either, assuming that if you win Wednesday, he'll be on a week's rest Friday. Obviously, if you lose Wednesday and you have to play Thursday, you're going to want to win Thursday. But Wednesday gives you a little bit of leeway to play with and use the pitching staff. You'll have Seacrest on over a week's rest, and he's been your normal Sunday guy. So I would assume they would roll him Wednesday unless they want to go a different route. But to your point, Mo, a lot of it is just the pitching staff throwing strikes, especially in the bigger ballpark with the way it's been playing. When you get a guy like Drew Beam who's going to throw strikes, 9 times out of 10, unless you're hanging a changeup down the middle, it's going to be a ground ball or it's going to get caught in the outfield with Tennessee's fielding ability. So, I mean, you saw it last night with Christian Moore, Hunter Inslee going into the center field wall to save a double, maybe a triple there. So, with this staff, as long as they throw strikes, they don't run into issues. When you run into problems is what we've seen a couple of times, and specifically that Saturday game against Evansville comes to mind. When you bring a guy in from the bullpen who instantly gives up a 4-pitch walk, that's the stuff you have to avoid, where it's like, what were you doing in the bullpen to come out and just instantly walk the first batter in 4 pitches? So as long as the pitchers are competitive, especially in Omaha with the way the park is playing, and a lot of teams, especially whoever Tennessee plays Wednesday, might be pressing in that elimination game, trying to do too much. You throw strikes, the offense will come around and they'll be able to play their brand of baseball. But it's a team that's been here before. You don't see a lot of guys getting worried about the lights. I mean, even last year, Drew Beam threw 5.2 innings against LSU, only gave up 2 runs and struck out 9, I believe, against the team that ended up going to win the national championship. Just Tennessee's offense didn't score. This year, he does virtually the same performance against North Carolina, and the offense backed him up and got him a win.
You know, you talk about walks. In these type situations, a walk is a rally. So, especially a 4-pitch walk. I mean, teams thrive off that when they're trying to come back. In particular, teams thrive off that when they're trying to extend leads. So, obviously, you got to try to stay away from that. But you mentioned Christian Moore. The cycle on Friday, the first time in a men's college World Series since 1956. That defensive play that he made late yesterday, I guess it was in the 9th inning. But for everything that he's done this year, is he opening eyes still in Omaha?
I would think so. For me, you saw it yesterday from some of the media Friday, from some of the media who haven't covered Tennessee, or it seemed like not even maybe paid attention as much. Christian Moore goes for the cycle. You get the questions where it's like, when did you think Christian Moore was going to be good? What was recruiting him like? How has he grown this season? And if you follow Tennessee baseball, you know that Christian Moore, probably from game 1 this season to yesterday, has been their guy. And it showed. I mean, he hit it. We talked about the cycle. He hit a double in the 9th to get the rally going, keep the rally going to come back. So he ended up 5 for 6 with 2 doubles plus the cycle. And then I think the only time he didn't get a hit was he lined out to somewhere in the infield. So, I mean, I guess he's still opening eyes. At this point, it's more like, what can't he do? We saw him yesterday defending. I think probably when he gets to the next level, the glove will be the thing he needs to improve on the most. But, man, he can swing it. He can make it happen. And what's most impressive about him in the top half of this lineup this season is there is no boom or bust. If they don't hit a home run, then you see Christian Moore hitting a single and getting on base to start things, or even hitting a double. Blake Burke, when he gets 2 strikes, he's no longer having these big, lengthy swings. He's even looking to go oppo sometimes as well and go against the ship. So I think Christian Moore has kind of embodied what's made this lineup so good this year is if we don't hit a home run, we're not just going to strike out or go back to the dugout. We're still going to put competitive at-bats, quality at-bats. And I think he embodies that at the leadoff spot. And Vitello said it yesterday when Hunter Inslee came out hurt. Christian Moore was asking if he had to go out there and play center field. So he'll do whatever for this team to win. And even when he hit the cycle, he said he didn't realize he had the cycle because he just wanted to beat Florida State. So he's a guy that really embodies everything Tennessee has done this year and is a big reason for the reason they're 2-0 now in the World Series and 1 win away from the championship.
And again, you know, you just can't say enough about this lineup with Cal Stark doing what he's doing in the number 9 spot, you know, with Dean Curley hitting behind Kavaris Tears and doing what he's doing on a timely basis. And, you know, KT with home runs in each of these first 2 games in Omaha out of the 6th spot. I mean, like you said, there's no place in this lineup where a pitcher can really catch his breath and say, okay, I'm all right here. You know, you as you size up a batting order, you're looking for places where you can go to get out. And against Tennessee, good luck.
Yeah, and I think the DH spot has been the biggest question mark in this lineup just because it's been a rotation. But Reese Chapman hit a home run yesterday in the DH spot. So it's like, where can you get an out? And the DH spot is probably your weakest spot. And he still hit a solo shot. I think it was like 401 feet yesterday out to right field. So you really can't. There's no breaks in this lineup. You talk about Cal Stark. He's a guy that has been overlooked this year. In the 9 hole, he gets on base. And if you ever watch him draw a walk or get hit, he will pimp that walk like it was a 400-foot home run every time, because he knows how important that is with him standing on first base and Christian Moore at the plate. It's a brutal combination. We talked about it yesterday that North Carolina got lucky because a couple of times it was 8-9-1, so they got Christian Moore with 2 outs. And that's the best solution for Christian Moore, is have him hit with 2 outs, because then if he does damage, it's minimized the most it could be. But no, Cal Stark, you mentioned him there. He's a guy that's come through defensively, been a wall back there, always backing up first base every play, getting out of jams with back picks to first. And then at the plate, he doesn't care if he doesn't hit a home run. He wants to get on base and score runs for the offense, and he knows his role in that 9-hole is to not strike out and to get on base somehow. And he's done it great. And even in the rally against Florida State, he came up with a man on first and 1 out. A double play there would have ended the game. And yes, he didn't get on base, but he also stayed out of the middle and just popped up to the catcher. So it wasn't what he wanted, but it also didn't end the game. So he's a guy that's really, really come through, and he's playing his role to the fullest of his ability. And a Knoxville native, ending his career in Omaha.
There's something to be said for knowing your role and then playing your role. Caleb, what's your feel been for the rest of this CWS field? I mean, those first 2 days you had 4 one-run games, 3 walk-off games. I mean, it's as electric as Omaha is under normal circumstances. I would imagine Friday and Saturday were especially so under those circumstances.
Yeah, it's been a very competitive series. I think when you look at the other side of the bracket, it's like every SEC weekend. You didn't have very many blowouts in conference play, and you've got these SEC teams on the other side of the bracket beating up on each other. I think A&M, as long as the injuries don't hurt them too bad, can easily make a run. I know Florida's playing in the losers bracket right now, but that's a team that's super hot too. And then when you look on Tennessee's side of the bracket, Florida State and North Carolina, both teams have a very solid lineup. It's just going to be a matter of who can survive the pitching. I don't think either will beat Tennessee twice, but I know that Tennessee respects both of those lineups, especially Florida State's. And if they have to face that Florida State lineup again, they'll definitely be, on high alert. But no, you're right. This series has been super competitive. Whoever matches up in the championship, we might get an SEC matchup again like last year, but the ACC-SEC invite, as some have described it, has been a super competitive battle so far, and it's been super fun to watch. I'm hoping there's no rain tonight so I can go sit in the stands and enjoy tonight's game. I tried to do it on the other off day, but then we got hit with a storm. So
Florida leading NC State 5-3 in the one that's currently going on. So, did you get to see any of the Kentucky game on Saturday?
I didn't get to watch as much of the Kentucky game. I was working, but that Kentucky play style in the College World Series, plus a team that really has – I know they were the number, top 8 seed and everything, but really that team probably has nothing to lose. They've never been here before. So if they went 0-2 here in Omaha, I feel like maybe there would be some letdown, but it'd be their first trip here, take a step for the program. So a team that's really got nothing to lose, that's very motivated, and then plays a style of baseball where we were talking about it earlier with some other people in the press box. But yes, I think the whole home run narrative is overblown in Omaha. We've seen home runs Kavares Tears with 2, like we said. I think there's been 6, 7, or 8, already in the series. They're hitting home runs in this park. So I don't think playing small ball is some secret. But where I do think Kentucky's play style will come in is if you get an inexperienced third baseman or somebody who's never been under the lights, and all of a sudden you lay down a squeeze bunt with a runner on third to end somebody's season, and they're stressed and they're pressing and they throw it in the dugout. I think that's where Kentucky's play style comes in, because they put so much pressure on defenses and pitching staffs that they thrive on other teams making mistakes, versus maybe a team like Tennessee or somebody else where the long ball is really where their offense is made. Pop flies don't take bad hops. So that's a lot easier to field than if you're laying down bunts or if you're putting the ball on the ground and like hitting runs and getting the bases moving. So I think Kentucky puts a lot of stress on other teams. And I think when you get in these postseason environments where every mistake is amplified, that really comes through.
Who do you like in Florida State, North Carolina?
Both teams are – I would probably lean Florida State. But I think that game will come down to what team probably fields it the best and puts together the most hits. I know it's kind of obvious, but at this point, when you're in the losers bracket, especially this deep into the tournament, it's like a midweek matchup for pitchers. So you can't really say one team has the advantage over the other. But I think Florida State's lineup is really good, and they're a team that's here with a vengeance after, their program worst season last year. But I wouldn't count out North Carolina either. They've had the postseason magic. I think, 2 or 3 walk-offs so far in the postseason. So they've got luck on their side, and Florida State has a very talented lineup and a very good head coach who will motivate his team to the fullest. So I would probably lean Florida State just from the offensive kind of advantages there, but you can't count out North Carolina and the magic and what they have going right now.
Who does Tennessee of those two maybe want to see internally, if you could put on your Volunteers coaching cap for a minute there? Or do they even have a preference at this point? Just win and get in?
I think North Carolina would probably be their preference, just because North Carolina's bread and butter through the offseason has been low-scoring games, and Tennessee knows it has the capability to play in a high-scoring game. But truthfully, when you get to that game, Tennessee is going to be rolling in on 2 days rest with a lot of fresh pitchers, and they have to lose twice. And neither Florida State nor North Carolina will have a fresh pitching staff or be rested up and ready to roll when it comes to just having a couple practice days and, acclimatation to the field and all of that stuff. So I think at the end of the day, they probably lean North Carolina internally, just because North Carolina wants to play a low-scoring game, and Tennessee knows it doesn't play low-scoring games and has the capability to not do that. But at the end of the day, I think Tennessee will be ready to put up 10 runs on whatever limited pitching staff they face on Wednesday.
There you go. Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon joining us here on Main Street Sports today from Omaha, site of the Men's College World Series, where Tennessee has a 2-0 advantage in its half of the 18 bracket. So they're scheduled to play on Wednesday against the winner of tomorrow's elimination game between Florida State and North Carolina. So be sure and check Caleb out at Caleb JARREAU 16 on Twitter for his updates on the Vols. And Caleb, we appreciate you taking some time with us.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Enjoy it out there, man. We'll talk to you. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we'll be talking a little professional postseason play. Stay with us when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Wade, we talked about Game 4 as we were leaving last week. Both Boston at Dallas and Florida at Edmonton had commanding leads, and we were talking about maybe closeout games for both of them. And both the hosts said nay. First, the Mavericks on Friday night, 122-84. I didn't watch it because obviously I was watching UT Florida State, but just kind of seeing the scores on social media and that kind of thing, it's like, my goodness, how does this happen?
Well, I took one for the team, Mo, and I watched a good chunk of this on Friday. And
you were taking one for the team.
You didn't miss a ton because Dallas pretty much dominated from start to finish. Jason Kidd kind of tinkered with the lineup a little bit, brought Derek Lively off the bench a little bit earlier, but really just flat out Boston just, again, we've said it a few times, Boston is not – in the weirdest fashion for a team that was up 3-0, had not really played all that well for a team to be up 3-0, and kind of had more of the same recipe. It was just more that Dallas finally showed some signs of life as Luka had a nice bounce back game after a real embarrassing Game 3 performance where he fouled out late. Finished with 29 points. He still finished 0 of 8. He didn't make a single three in the win, but they didn't need him. Got 21 from Kyrie, and the bench play was solid from top to bottom. But you did also kind of wonder, because Porzingis was iffy, could go, could not go. And when he got ruled out closer to tip-off, it almost kind of just felt like Boston said, you know what, we're all right with our lead. Let's just take this thing back and get a win on Monday night. And Dallas said, okay, we'll take that. And they absolutely throttled them on Friday night.
Third biggest margin in an NBA Finals game. The Bulls beat Utah 96-54. 54 points in an NBA game in 1998. And the Celtics beat the Lakers 131-92 in 2008. So this was a beatdown of epic proportions, and as you said, maybe Boston, and we talked about it last week. Maybe Boston's just good going back to the Garden and wrapping this thing up tonight. This was Boston's first loss in 5 weeks.
Yeah, they have been phenomenal. Obviously, we talked about the regular season and into the postseason, and it just almost felt like, they'd been kind of flirting with laying pure duds for a while. Dallas just hadn't been able to take advantage, but the fact that Dallas was able to take advantage, we kind of saw that. And now if you're Dallas, obviously, you're thinking, man, we kind of blew it in Game 2. And then we had that weird, crazy comeback, and then Luka just absolutely took himself out of the game in Game 3. And you're kind of kicking yourself saying, man, this could have been a totally different series. And so we'll roll in. I still think Boston wins tonight, like we've kind of talked about, as they're back at home. That place will be rocking. Today's June 17th. That's the 617 area code up there in Boston. They're going to be amped up. They're fired up for tonight's game. Porzingis could go. It just feels like Dallas kind of sold out, maybe just for a little bit of pride there. I would be shocked if they win, but man, if they somehow do get a win, this thing suddenly gets a little squirrely heading back to Dallas later in the week.
It gets real squirrely going back to Dallas being the key to that, as you said, with a 3-2 series. If they were to somehow get it done tonight, I don't think they do. 8-1 Edmonton over Florida in Game 4 Saturday night.
Same deal, Mo. It was kind of a weird mirror image of the NBA game in the sense that the home team down 3-0 finally said, you know what, enough's enough. And Edmonton came out and played possessed Saturday night.
They had scored 4 goals in the opening 2 games. They scored 4 goals in 2 periods Saturday night, then added 4 in the third. That was, I mean, it was that third period. I flipped it over there, and I think it was 5-1. Saw 3 goals. It's like, my goodness. So, I mean, just the fact that they never got off the pedal, it was almost like they were taking out some frustration or something, or just wanted to make sure that they gave the Oilers fans something to remember them by if by chance they don't bring it back.
Yeah, and they got off to an electric start. Kind of a crazy deal. Right at the beginning of the game, there was a penalty that was called against the Oilers, and it looked like it might have been a 5-minute major, and looked like we could be talking about, losing somebody for the rest of the game, kind of a game misconduct situation there. But they downgraded it to just a regular penalty. And then, boom, Edmonton scores a shorty. Got one right off the jump, and then they add another goal, 2-0. And then Florida comes back, makes it 2-1, but then, boom, same situation. Florida just kind of Edmonton just kind of blitzed them. And after it was 3-1 at the end of the first, it just, Florida just did not answer the bell. And so they'll go back to South Beach and basically get ready to try and see if they can do what the Celtics are going to try and do tonight. And Mo, have you seen the meme, the crazy connection between the Celtics and the Panthers?
I have.
With Kachuk and Tatum.
High school classmates.
Crazy deal. Both sitting there.
I actually meant to send that to you. Yes.
Crazy deal. Both sitting there 3-0, and well, now both sitting there 3-1 after what we saw this weekend. So I thought that was interesting as well.
That was pretty amazing when I saw that. That's some craziness. Connor McDavid, now the all-time NHL postseason assist leader, breaking the record previously held by Wayne Gretzky. So anytime your name is being mentioned with the great one, that's pretty high cotton there, I'd say.
Yeah, they don't call him McJesus for nothing up there in Edmonton. So he's solid, and he's pinning the hopes and dreams. Edmonton may not get it done this year. Maybe these scars, we talked a lot about, postseason scars last week. Florida's got them from last year. Boston's had them from a couple of runs over the last 2 or 3 years. Maybe now we see Edmonton make a run next year, and then who knows, maybe we haven't seen the last of the Mavericks as well.
Yeah. This is not the first time the Panthers have lost 8-1 in the Stanley Cup final. Colorado did the honors in Game 2 back in 1996, and those two are the second worst losses in Stanley Cup final history. The Pens defeated Minnesota 8-0 in 91. So that's pretty dominant.
And the crazy situation with the Panthers, Mo, is going into that game the other night, their goalie Bobrovsky, there was talk that he's probably going to be your Conn Smythe winner, your Stanley Cup Finals MVP winner. He's yanked from the game after his 5th goal. And so now you're kind of wondering, how does that play out?
How does that play out?
If you're a media member, you voting for the guy that gave up 5 goals. I mean, he was your favorite and potentially going to win that thing. And I guess it may be whatever happens in this the next closeout game will dictate what happens. But I find that kind of angle interesting as well.
You got to think that he's not the favorite that he was for sure. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't seem that way.
Yeah. Wow. So they play tomorrow night in Florida, right?
I would assume so, but for some reason I thought I saw it was a Wednesday, but
no, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, Tuesday. So they shortened it one day. They had the 2 extra days or the 1 extra day prior for that first trip, but now you just got to hurry it. Let's speed this thing up a little bit. So yeah, tomorrow night.
Well, yeah, and Florida would probably just as soon get back on the ice as quickly as possible anyway after that one. So yeah,
which is nice. It's also nice that the games are not back to back. NBA tonight and NHL tonight. At least we get the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, speaking of fatigue, I got to give a quick shout out, Mo. Yesterday, I was only on the air for 2 hours, but down in Huntsville, they had a charity event going on. The longest game, they started playing hockey at 9 a.m. and they ended at 9 p.m.
Yesterday?
And yep.
So they played 12 straight hours then?
12 hours of hockey. Obviously, everybody wasn't playing the whole time, but a really cool event for the longest game. They called it down there, raising a lot of money for cancer research. And Huntsville has got they're obviously, I don't think, going to be anywhere close to, getting in the NHL discussion anytime soon. They do have a minor league team down there, but hockey is kind of bumping down in Huntsville. And they had a lot of fun yesterday, raising a lot of money.
That's awesome. Now, does UAH still have hockey?
UAH is gone by the wayside, unfortunately. But there were a couple players for both teams, as it were, quote unquote teams. It was kind of like an all-star team. So there's basically these huge pickup leagues. And for this charity event, they kind of mishmashed all the teams together. But there were several UAH sweaters and presumably former players that were out there playing. So UAH did get a little love during that stretch for sure.
That's awesome. So how did you get roped into this?
Good friend of the show, Mr. Guy Schaefer. He plays and commentates for a pickup team down there. And they had asked me to come down to do a little stint. Again, we only broadcast 2 of the 12 hours yesterday, but it was,
and thank goodness, right?
It was a really cool deal. The Bandits Hockey Club, they've had a couple clips that have gone pretty viral. The NHL has reached out to them about sharing some of their stuff, and was just a chance to be able to support a good cause, but also get to brush up on the hockey play-by-play as well.
Had you done hockey before?
Had not done hockey, so hockey is off the list. Not much that we haven't called at this point. I'd love to get into MMA, boxing, or even pro wrestling in some capacity. That's really about the only thing that we haven't kind of ticked off, other than maybe lacrosse, I suppose.
Might have to get you a little cricket.
We could get. Hey, speaking of which, we got a shout out at some point. The Cricket World Cup is going on, my friend, and Team USA was actually playing pretty well in that thing.
Okay.
But I don't know that they'll be needing my services for that. That is for sure.
You can scout that out and report back tomorrow on Team USA's cricket progress.
They had a huge upset the other day. I'm surprised we didn't get into this. They had a huge upset knocking off Pakistan the other day. It was a massive upset in the world of cricket, which I had no idea really was
there
going
was a
on.
world of cricket.
Yeah, but they scored a big upset. It was making head waves for Team USA.
The folks at Pinehurst had the right idea, huh?
Yeah, I suppose you're right about that.
Should have held on to it for cricket. Yeah. Hey, that is our number 1 of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we'll be talking a little Braves, a little Major League Baseball. Stay with us after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
June 17th, 1956, Joe Adcock homered 3 times as the Milwaukee Braves swept host Brooklyn 5-4 and 3-1. His 9th inning leadoff shot provided the margin of victory in Game 1, striking the 83-foot high roof beyond the 350-foot fence in left field as he became the only player to homer onto the roof of the stadium. Adcock's 13 career home runs at Ebbets Field were the most of any visiting player. That was this day in Braves history. 83-foot high roof. I dare say that was crushed.
Mark Whitten would be impressed with that man.
Hard hitting Mark Whitten. There we go. Number of folks.
He clubbed a few out of some stadiums.
Yeah.
That is 80. Holy moly.
Exactly. Yeah. Let that marinate. Yeah. While we talk about the Atlanta Braves, who as we mentioned in the rundown, they won 7-3 and 9-2 on Friday and Saturday. They dropped an 8-6 loss yesterday, but what's that, 7-9? That's 22 runs in 3 games. That's getting back a little bit closer to what we expect offensively out of the Braves. And if you can score 7 runs a game, you'll kind of take your chances. Now, yesterday it didn't turn out so well because Hurston Waldrop, making his second start, kind of struggled second time through the order against the Rays. And then, of all people, Raisel Iglesias giving it up in the 9th on a 2-run jack. But again, you got to take some positivity out of this recent offensive show for the Braves.
Yeah, a little sign of life from the offense, which had been kind of what was letting them down, it seemed like, the last 10 plus days or so. So kind of maybe shore that up, get back to decent with the pitching, and You get the Tigers rolling in for a couple games here, a chance for Atlanta to kind of get back on the right side of things here.
The Tigers got what, 2 of 3? No, you guys got the Tigers 2 of 3, right?
Yes.
This weekend?
Yep.
Okay. So things starting to after we went off the air Friday, I think it was, I saw the Astros release Jose Abreu.
Yeah, he gone.
That
hadn't lived up to the billing the last little
not
bit
even
here,
close.
So.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's really been tough sledding for Abreu. They sent him down at one point and just never could get right. So you kind of hate to see that, but I mean, if that's what it takes, it's definitely a what have you done for me lately type of deal, and Jose hadn't. So
yeah, I think there's a crazy graph I saw the other day from like 22, the height, maybe the height, quote unquote, of his, maybe a little bit before, but around 22, his production has just plummeted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they cut bait at that point.
You guys are off tonight, right?
Off tonight. Almost had another Blanco no last night. He goes 7 innings, no hit ball before they yanked him out of there, and end up hanging on for the 4-1 win. But the bullpen kind of let him down in the no hit department. But nice win for them. As crazy series, because Friday they played pretty well, and then Saturday they gave up 1 million runs, but then kind of almost got back in the game. And then yesterday kind of rolled right back in there thanks to Blanco, who's now 7-2 on the year. So he's pitching well for him.
Thank goodness, right?
Yep.
As we mentioned, Hurston Waldrop gets the start for the Braves yesterday against Tampa Bay. Struggles and was about to be sent down to AAA Gwinnett, and then some elbow soreness was found, and so instead of going down, he goes on the injured list for the next 2 weeks with that elbow situation. So that's certainly something to be keeping an eye on for the Braves. Again, a couple of nice developments even in the loss yesterday. 9 hits. I believe Riley had another home run. Yeah, Riley and Kelnick each hit homers yesterday. But I think the biggest thing that Braves folks, particularly front office folks, were happy with was Grant Holmes, recently called up from AAA Gwinnett, was the number 22 pick overall in the 2014 draft, making his major league debut yesterday through 3 scoreless innings with a couple of strikeouts. So maybe they found another piece out of the bullpen in Grant Holmes, but man, if that's not persistence, I don't know what is. This guy was drafted in the first round in 2014 and had not made a major league appearance until yesterday. And you got to wonder how many times did he think, maybe I need to go and teach PE and coach baseball or something like that, or just get on with it. And must have had somebody in his ear telling him not yet, make him tear the uniform off of you, and next thing you know, 10 years later you're in the majors.
And it's great. It's funny you mentioned PE, because I was just getting ready to say, and he's got the lettuce going on, looking like Kenny Powers, the PE MLB guy. So
I don't even know,
cool
man.
To see.
That I'm not even sure if that's Kenny Powers ish. That might take that.
Yeah,
might
that's
be
even
taking it
got
to
Kenny
another
beat.
level.
You're right.
Yeah.
That was some impressive lettuce, and that is a cool story. That's one of the cool things about baseball. It feels like these stories pop up, and always fun when you see somebody that put that much into it to kind of finally get that big payoff, which is cool to see.
Yeah, and again, threw well. Got a double play ball, got a couple of strikeouts. It started a double play actually on a comebacker. So, really, really composed under the circumstances of finding himself on a major league mound 10 years into his career. So, congratulations to him, and look forward to his next appearance, and hopefully he can keep up the good work because the Braves can certainly use it. Tonight it is Reese Olson for the Tigers, 1-8 with a 3.68 ERA. Max Fried, 6-3 with a 3.20, going for the Braves. As again, they have won 3 of their last 4 following yesterday's 8-6 loss to Tampa Bay to close out that series. So maybe they can take a little momentum out of the weekend into this weekend or into tonight. Cincinnati played at Milwaukee this weekend up at America Family Field, and on Saturday they had an esteemed guest. Calvin Broadus threw out the first pitch for the Brewers against the Reds, excuse me. You might know him better as Snoop Dogg. Mark. Now, I like this move here. He's going from the edge. He's not going from the rubber.
Looking confident, if nothing else.
Oh, well, he's Snoop Dogg. Yeah, that'll hunt.
Yeah,
that'll play.
Not a bad effort there.
No, I'd take it. Literally, I would. He, as everyone else in baseball, was impressed by Ellie De La Cruz. I think it was Saturday when he scored from second base on an errant pickoff throw, and he also beat out a ball on the infield, just doing Ellie De La Cruz things. But I guess it was Snoop's first exposure to him, and he loved him. So
yeah, there were some good highlights out of that, and De La Cruz had a great play at short, and Snoop's like, oh, he's not going to beat this, or he's not going to make this throw, and he makes the throw, and he said, man, he got a rocket in that pocket over there.
Yeah.
And yeah, he said, who is that? And the TV guy said, that's Ellie De La Cruz. He's like, I like this guy, he's pretty good.
Snoop got an eye for talent.
Yeah.
Interesting situation in LA. You know, we talked on Friday, I guess, about them trading for Kevin Biggio from Toronto. I don't know if Biggio can play shortstop or not, but it looks as if the Dodgers may need one because Mookie Betts went down yesterday with a broken left hand.
Yeah, not a good look for Mookie. Caught 98 miles an hour straight to the left hand.
Yeah, he for obvious reasons looked like he was in a lot of pain after that, and again goes on the IL with that, but he's not expected to need surgery, so hopefully he'll be back here. I don't know what the prognosis is on a left hand without surgery, but that looked horrible, to say the least. So wishing him the best as he deals with that. That's not the only injury that the Dodgers are dealing with. I think Yamamoto went down here recently as well. So Dodgers dealing with some stuff here all of a sudden, as they've been rolling in the West pretty much. But injuries are the great equalizer, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. And it sounds like Ohtani's going to go to the leadoff spot for them, which will be kind of just wild to see, if nothing else, as they're dealing with some injuries. And Mookie said, it just went numb. He said, I found this kind of crazy, Mo, and he said he thinks it was the first time he'd ever gotten hit in the hand. I suppose you would probably remember that. And
I'd
so
like
he
to
said,
think you would remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he didn't know if it was immediately broke, but it went numb as soon as it happened. And yeah, it was broke. And man, we were talking MVP caliber season right there for the guy. So the fact that he's going to miss at least a good chunk of time is not good for the Dodgers. And obviously wishing him a safe and speedy recovery.
Absolutely. Typical recovery times range from 2 to 3 months. Yikes. That would get him back for September, I guess. But you don't want to be without a guy who was slashing 304, 405, 488 with 10 home runs and 9 steals for 2 to 3 months out of your leadoff spot. So that qualifies as a setback for the Dodgers, I would think. And again, Yoshinobu Yamamoto went on the IL with a strained rotator cuff yesterday as well. But they're 15 games up, 15 games over 500, 8 games up on San Diego. So, I don't want to say you can afford it, but you feel a little bit better about absorbing those type injuries when you've got that kind of lead. So we will see how things go for the Dodgers without Mookie. And
yeah, they're almost in just tread water mode at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to make a run at them out of the West. I'm kind of surprised that the Padres are there, but we'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we'll talk a little Titans with NUBYJAS WILBORN. Stay with us after the break.
Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hour number 2 of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is ongoing. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We are awaiting the arrival of NUBYJAS WILBORN of AllTitans.com to talk a little Titans. And, they finished up their OTAs, I guess, last week, and they are out until preseason training camp starts up in July, specifically July 23rd. But they recently had a signing. They signed another offensive lineman, offensive tackle JARREAU Christian, who played most recently, I think, at Cleveland. 10 games with the Browns in 2023 and was coached by new offensive line coach Bill Callahan. So that's got to be a good thing, right?
You would think. Second Browns offensive lineman that they picked up this offseason after they got Watson a couple weeks ago. So add a little extra depth maybe, and let what do we say, big coach, let him kind of see what he thinks about the talent there. As they're kind of on like summer break now, right? You got everything in, you kind of did what you need to do, and now you get a couple weeks off. I know the staff, the coaching staff is obviously going to still be really, really keen and dialed in on things. But I know as far as the internal staff, they're going to enjoy a little bit of a break here before the calm, before the storm at the end of July.
Like you said, the staff is still putting in work. The players are probably scattered to the four corners, just trying to kind of revive and refresh before they come back, and they are full go from July 23rd on. So I don't blame those guys for getting as far away from football as possible probably here for the next month or so. I wouldn't blame this guy for getting as far away from football as possible for the next month either. NUBYJAS WILBORN of AllTitans.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. What's on your schedule between now and July 23rd, NUBYJAS?
Well, these days you're kind of just trying to make sure everything's still okay, make sure nobody gets hurt or anything. But for me, it's going to be a lot of hopefully some chilling, man. Hopefully, God willing,
I'm sure you've earned the right to chill for a pretty good while. We were just talking about the most recent signing, I guess, of JARREAU Christian. What was your read on that? What is your read on that? As Wade was saying, he's seen some time under big coach, and you would think that he kind of got the seal of approval from Bill Callahan before he came in here.
I mean, I would assume so. Listen, that if there's been one recurring theme is that Bill Callahan is an amazing football coach, and very good at what he does. And you talk to national people, you talk to local people, you talk to anybody, it's pretty much been the same thing. So I'd assume if he likes this guy, I'm going to assume he's probably pretty good and he can contribute. I mean, which I would also say, I guess for Titans like fans, you guys have been, watching the team way longer than I have. I'm still very new to this. I think it seems kind of jarring for Titans people that there's actually somewhere you can have some confidence in the team's decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, is that an accurate assessment?
Yes.
Pretty refreshing for sure.
It just seems shocking. Like people were like, "Oh, whoa, that actually might be the right thing to do," and I'm like, "Well, they are professional football."
And here's the thing, NUBYJAS, it wasn't always that way, to be fair. But I think, and Wade, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the A.J. Brown trade is where everybody kind of got off the previous regime's bandwagon. Wade, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that was definitely kind of the real the forward facing kind of move that really kind of got certainly the casual fans and a lot of folks. Yeah, that was kind of the death nail for that previous regime. So it is after kind of a year and a half-ish of kind of unknown, uncharted waters, it is kind of interesting and, dare I say, like I said, refreshing to see some moves that have been kind of somewhat, some universally lauded around the league.
Hey, man, I mean, but they've been doing stuff. I mean, if you look at going back all the way through free agency, right? You look at getting L'Jarius Sneed, you look at getting Calvin Ridley. I mean, they spent a lot of money on Calvin Ridley? Yeah. But that's kind of the receiver market these days. Also, you got to remember there was that major bump in the salary cap for every team. So, will we live up to that contract? I think it's going to more depend on how society views that, but that's a whole other conversation. But when it comes down to it, I think they made as good a moves as they could have made. I think they've shown the Nashville area, the Titans, as a place where players want to play and players want to be, and they're going to get good coaching, and they're going to have a good front office experience led by Rand Carthon.
Tobias, anybody in these last couple of weeks, it's so interesting, right? We talk about football just because we kind of almost have to in this day and age, but what can you really learn? Or is there anything that you really learned about seeing some of these guys during this kind of period of OTAs? And if so, maybe who was somebody that jumped out to you that kind of caught you by surprise in your mind?
Well, I don't know if it's by surprise, but as a man who had struggled with his weight over years and has struggled to keep weight off and, all those things. J.C. Latham is just unfair. I mean, how does that man get to be like so broad in his chest and have such a slim waist? I mean, it's just and can
disgusting.
Move. Yeah, I mean, no, it's great for him, but it's just unfair to the rest of us, like mere mortal humans.
Present company included. Yeah, I thought you were going to go to Vondre Sweat.
Oh, that's a whole nother that dude. Well, unfortunately, we didn't get to see a whole lot of him. But the way he looked at rookie, I mean, and that again, he's one of those dudes where, and you guys have all been to a practice where you have like the roster, the numbers, and you're trying to figure out who's who, because these guys do play in helmets, particularly when you're new, right? To the whole thing. And tell you what, didn't take too long to recognize Vondre Sweat. Okay, that is a very distinctive looking man. All right. And I mean that in all the good ways. That you just, even amongst football players, that dude sticks out. And so when, Callahan and Carthon talk about, we got like over 600 pounds and 2 picks. I mean, but those two guys, very differently shaped 300 pounds, but still very athletically shaped. And yeah, man, dudes that big ain't supposed to be able to run that fast, man. It just ain't fair.
Yeah. And I would imagine that's going to continue to be a couple of guys that will continue to hold your attention once they get back. NUBYJAS, something that I don't know how much attention it drew or how much it was talked about, but of all of the transactions, all of the guys that the Titans brought in over this offseason, there's not been a whole lot of talk about Mason Rudolph.
Well, I mean, hey, and here's the thing. He's going to be your backup quarterback, I believe. Unfortunately for Malik Willis, I don't know what that means for Malik Willis, okay? I think they're trying to give him a chance. And again, what we see in these OTAs is very limited, so I try to budget into it. But it's kind of hard when one of the best throws I see. Well, I won't go there. I'll just say that that's not fair. What I will say is it is hard when at least Mason Rudolph, you could put in that backup role and he can win you a game or two. Now, I ain't gonna say you can win no championship with Mason Rudolph or anything like that, because if he was that good, he'd still be in Pittsburgh. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember up there with the Steelers, after Kenny Pickett, they could have kept Mason Rudolph there. Now, there might have been some people throwing off some of those bridges up there in Pittsburgh if that would have happened. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a thing that they could have done if they so chose to. Okay, so we have to factor that in. But yes, Mason Rudolph probably going to be your number 2 quarterback, and he looks like a backup quarterback. He looks, sounds, and acts like a traditional NFL backup quarterback, And hey, look, Levis is a starter, and you get a guy like Rudolph behind him because, hey, let's be real, Levis can get a little reckless out there. We'll see if he'll tune that down a little bit because he's got wheels now. I think this thing I will say too, watching him up close, hey, that boy can move, man. Like he really can move. I mean, and I'm not saying in the deceptively fast way. LOL. I'm saying
he's genuinely an athlete.
Yeah, he's an athlete, as we say. You know what I'm saying? And he really is, man. The boy can do something. I mean, and so now, will that translate into being able to stay upright for 17 games in NFL? I don't know. Because, I mean, he hasn't done it yet. That don't mean he can't do it. I'm just saying, even last year, he had some injury issues. So you need a backup quarterback. I mean, you just do. Which also, let's be real, we didn't know the Titans had a backup quarterback last year until Levis got out there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, hey, maybe this guy's pretty good. All right.
Right.
But, I will say one more thing, too. When you talk about guys who people haven't talked about, I can honestly argue that Lloyd Cushenberry at center might actually be the most important when it comes to winning football games of the free agent moves they made. Because one of the things that happens, quarterbacks, they can handle pressure from the left to the right. Up the middle, man, messes up everything. And if you're getting pressured up the middle, which allegedly that was an issue with Brewer last year. Now, again, I didn't watch enough games last year. I can only go by what I've read and what I've seen and talking to people. But if Cushenberry is just better at that alone, and of course the center and snap and change, all that stuff, but just that alone of eliminating that rush, that probably leads to a win or two.
It's funny that you mentioned him because that was a guy I didn't really know what to ask other than just, hey, what have you seen out of him? But I'm with you, NUBYJAS, in the sense that Cushenberry at the center position with the offensive line coaching acumen surrounding him now, that seems like a real sneaky acquisition for the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is he the best center ever? I don't know, probably not. But if he's better than what you had last year, which was a major issue, that is an automatic upgrade. That's why you talk about Bill Callahan, aka Big Coach. By the way, that's just such a Rand Carthon.
I love it.
That's just him. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But also, just that alone of those two together, just making the offense. I mean, listen, if that offensive line can go from being 31st in the league by most metrics, if they can just go to be high 20s, that could be a game or two. That could be the difference between 7-9 and 9-7, or however. 10-7, whatever. I'm still learning the 16 versus 17, but they didn't hire me to do math, so.
That 17 game schedule is really unwieldy in a lot of ways, like you said, just like that. But NUBYJAS WILBORN of alltitans.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And I mean, for everything that was bad about this team last year, it all seems to come back to the offensive line and how much better them being better makes everything else. I mean, the cliche is it all starts up front. Well, cliches are cliches for a reason.
Amen.
And so whenever somebody wants to downgrade you for using a cliche, it's like, hey, there's a method behind the madness. I mean, it all starts up front. And, Will Levis can't throw from his seat.
Nope. I mean, and that's why I mentioned the whole getting rushed up the middle thing, right? It is the trenches still matter. I mean, hey, this ain't 7-on-7, man. This is still 11-on-11 real football. I mean, yes, they can change the rules, they can do certain things, but there comes a point where that whistle gonna blow, and that ball's gonna get kicked in the air. Now, even the kickoffs, how are they gonna look this year? Like that's another thing I am very intrigued by, and probably. Something I'll probably be doing some writing on because, hey, we're going to have about 7 weeks of no football activity, but in the world that still wants to talk about football because,
Right.
I mean,
You read my mind again, Tobias, because I was just
what's that?
Yeah, you read my mind because I literally had jotted down special teams. We've discussed obviously Stonehouse and his return, but I'm real curious to see how teams are approaching the new special teams rules, because you get the vibe that certain teams are going to go really all in on this. And that may be the difference in a game or two for some of these teams, whereas some of these teams that are slow or not great at special teams, that could be a hindrance for them, it feels like.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a thing. I mean, look, the way they're talking about it now is they're calling it the first offensive play. Now, I'm going to be real with y'all. I have not, and that is something that is on my plate for this summer to actually watch, because I just haven't had time to watch the UFL, and I'm not going to act like I watch something that I don't watch, okay? But I have seen a couple of plays, and I have talked to some special teams people, and to be honest, everybody trying to figure out, everybody calling their boys in the other leagues, because you know how football is still a very small world. You know what I'm saying? And so guys are calling guys to see what people are doing. It's going to be weird because do you put one of your best offensive players as a kick returner like it's like Madden 92? You know what I'm saying? Like you just have like Bo Jackson back there returning punts. You know what I'm saying? Just as an example, you know what I mean? If the kids even know who I'm talking about. But, insert whatever great player you have them doing all that. Do you expand your roster? Do you change how your roster development? Maybe you don't keep a third quarterback now, like a Malik Willis, to keep another returner. Also, remember, that's where now you're going to talk about guys who, if you're not one of the top 3 receivers, Treylon Burks, you're not going to be on special teams because the head coach said so. Which, by the way, is a wild thing for Callahan to say out loud about a guy who was a first-round draft pick 2 years ago.
Two of them.
And Caleb Farley. Well, Farley, I think, is a little bit different because, man, that brother, oh, my God. It's interesting. I actually, when I was working at Newsweek before I came here, I wrote about a story that happened with his family, obviously, with that thing. And then coming here and seeing the other pieces and then the injuries and everything, I mean, I could argue he probably would tell you, I'm lucky to even be on a football field, period, doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Treylon Burks, I think that situation is slightly different because it's so recent. You know what I'm saying? But it does kind of say some things, unfortunately, fair or not fair, about the previous regime when you got 2 first-round picks on special teams. However, on the flip side, if special teams is becoming more important and more emphasized and not a throwaway play, which is what the league would like, because let's be real, one thing about the NFL, they want to keep your butt in that seat, okay? They don't want you dancing off for bathroom breaks or, heaven forbid, changing that channel. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Hey, because if you think about it, like, let's be real, like, if after a touchdown, if you know the kickoff ain't going to be nothing, right? If you know it's not going to be a real play, you know what I'm saying? You can change that channel for a second. Maybe that's, if you're at the game, maybe that's when you try to get your bathroom break. Or, whatever, right? If they want you focused on that product the whole time and they want that play to mean something, then maybe you need athletic players on special teams. And it's not just a throwaway spot anymore.
What seems interesting about that situation, Tobias, is, we saw articles about it, and Treylon seems to be completely bought in on special teams, which,
well,
I guess he's kind of got to be, but I mean, still.
Listen, they do pay him money to play football.
Right.
I mean, hey, as people who do what we do, we have all been there where they might have brought you in to do one thing. And then you end up doing another thing, and it comes to the point where it's like, hey man, do I still want to be doing this, or do I want to go do something else? And Treylon Burks still wants to do this, and maybe that inspires him more as a receiver too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, maybe that I don't know, but I'm saying is I do think it's interesting when they bring in Tyler Boyd and Callahan first says, oh well, there's not going to be a reduced role. There's not, which, here's the thing, now that I say that, they did say he'll be doing all types of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe he was setting us up the whole time.
Other duties as assigned.
Hey, I'm just saying because remember now, the whole thing was when they was at first hyping him up, saying this, saying that. You got a man, not really, D-Hop saying he reminds him of all these great receivers with this talent, and then all of a sudden now he's on special teams. So, I mean, I'm just saying sometimes both things could be true, and sometimes it could be, hey, we're trying to maybe drum up some more interest in this guy, maybe get him up a little bit. If we were trying to, if you were trying to trade him, you kind of don't want to dump on him and lower his value, right?
Right.
I'm just saying, if that's the case, I'm not saying that's what I'm just there's no reason to dump on the guy. Now, however, reality hits eventually, and that will ultimately be the test as to how much they value him and also how he performs.
Right. One last question before we let you go. What is the situation regarding number 17 right now?
The punter?
No, the quarterback.
Oh, Mr. Levin. I mean,
Mr. Tannehill.
Oh, well. You know what? See, all right.
My bad.
No, you're cool. Hey, look, as far as I know, I mean, he's still wants to play football, and nobody has called. I mean, he's gotten some calls and some conversations from what I've heard, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wish I had more, but it's been quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's been very quiet. I mean, even like in the back channel talk, his name has not come up in any conversations that I've seen at the Titans building. You know what I'm saying? When people are talking about last year, he doesn't come up. I hadn't really heard his name in a lot of conversations from teams looking for backups, I guess. I mean, you may have to wait, I guess, maybe until camp. Maybe somebody gets injured. So I don't know, but he hasn't announced a retirement or anything. And last we heard from him, as far as I know, anything publicly that he said is that he wants to play football. Right. But there hasn't been a whole lot. I mean, if you guys are being serious, it's been quiet, man. I mean, I'm kind of surprised, but then I'm kind of not, because the league moves fast, man. I mean, it just does, whether it's fair or not. Now, do I think that there are, 64 quarterbacks better than Ryan Tannehill?
No.
I don't think that's true. I don't. I believe there's probably a place that would have a spot for him, but that's if they want to.
Right.
And right now, there has not either on his side to maybe take a reduced deal, or on a team side that want him bad enough. I know Aaron Rodgers has been hyping him up recently, because Aaron Rodgers was talking about like the offense with the New York, where he has to like stand in the pocket. He's like how much he loved watching Tannehill do it, because Tannehill was really great at maintaining the pocket, staying in the pocket presence, all that good stuff. That basically means you ain't running nowhere. So you kind of gotta, wait for gotta get over, take the hit, because otherwise, like, you can't do nothing else to extend the play. But if that works for you, cool.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that works in today's NFL the way it did when Aaron Rodgers came into the league. You know what I'm talking about? So I don't want to say there's no place for him in the league, but it's starting to look like there might not be a place for him in the league.
There you go. NUBYJAS Wilborn of alltitans.com. You can follow him on Twitter at nwilborn19. NUBYJAS, as always, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And look forward to catching up with you here soon. Enjoy your break, as much of it as there is to enjoy.
Yes, sir. We'll do.
All right. We'll talk to you.
Thank you, NUBYJAS.
Hey, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, we'll get into the grab bag. Wade and I will talk about some things that took place over the weekend, and one thing that happened a while back. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studio after this.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the Nashville Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
I forget that's a short break. We are back for the final segment of Main Street Sports Today, the Monday Mirror. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Wade, did you see that former Louisiana State football coach Les Miles has told Louisiana State University, "We'll see you in court"?
You know, I hadn't until we started getting ready for the show, and then I'm kind of scratching my head. And Les Miles just finds a way to make things interesting, whether it's on the field or not, right?
That's a great characterization, and you're absolutely right. He always has, as a friend of mine would say, been doing it, gonna keep on doing it. Former college football coach Les Miles filed a lawsuit against LSU claiming that the school's decision to vacate 37 of his wins between the 2012 and 2015 seasons eliminated him from consideration for the College Football Hall of Fame. That's one hell of an assumption, but okay. The NCAA and the National Football Foundation, which oversees the College Football Hall of Fame, are also listed as defendants. The College Football Hall of Fame has a requirement that eligible coaches have to have a winning percentage of at least 600. And without the vacated wins, Les is sitting right at 0.597. Those wins were vacated when a level 1 recruiting violation was found to have been committed during Miles's tenure at LSU. So, according to the suit, Miles is seeking appropriate remedy for the blot placed on him, on his good name and reputation by LSU's decision. I don't know how you win that.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be tough. And I do love another kind of wrinkle of this strategy, and that what LSU and his legal team are kind of also involving is they're going after LSU basketball too, saying, well, part of what we had going on, they're trying to tie it into the exposure that Will Wade had kind of gotten them into. If I'm reading this correctly, it's almost like saying, hey, we probably would have gotten away or not had to deal with any of this
if it hadn't been for basketball.
If it wasn't for men's basketball kind of really blowing the lid off a lot of things. And so, you know, that is certainly a strategy. I suppose you're swinging for the fences at this point. And, you know, I'll be real curious to see how this plays out. I'm not a legal expert by any means, but it doesn't seem like he's got a great argument here.
Didn't even sleep at Holiday Inn last night. But Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports is saying that he doesn't believe any of the 3 schools where Miles coached, Oklahoma State, LSU, or Kansas, has nominated Miles for consideration for the College Football Hall of Fame. So,
yeah.
So maybe it's not the lack of victories that is Les's issue.
Yeah, who knows? kind of somewhat related to this too. Have you seen the news about Mike Leach, the late Mike Leach? He's 1 win. Literally, he finished his career 1 win shy with a .596 winning percentage. And there's a lot of folks, including current USC coach Lincoln Riley, who are really trying to make a groundswell and get the College Football Hall of Fame to let him in. Yeah, because 1 win shy with that winning percentage of getting in.
And I feel like those are probably two different situations. One, obviously he would go in posthumously. Two, with all of the innovation that he brought to college football. I mean, it almost kind of be a contributor / coach kind of thing, maybe. I don't know. I think that's got a better chance of going than Les and his legal route.
I think so.
Since the Pirate was a former attorney.
Yeah, and a weird twist of fate, Les Miles is probably thinking, man, I wish I could hire Mike Leach
to represent me on this.
To represent me. We could tag team this effort here. But yeah, it doesn't look good for old Les. We'll see how it plays in court, like you said.
It should be interesting. Wade, where were you 30 years ago today?
Probably at Giles County's historic Exchange Ballpark, running around causing chaos and playing ball, if I had to guess.
June 17th, 1994. The World Cup was in Chicago, the first time it had been played in the U.S. The Knicks and the Rockets were playing in the NBA Finals. And yet, everybody was watching a white Bronco go down an L.A. interstate, followed by numerous law enforcement vehicles. 30 years from this date was one of the most memorable and infamous days in sports history. There were moments of great celebration that featured iconic sports figures, but they were all overshadowed by the late O.J. Simpson and his white Ford Bronco. And you probably don't remember that because you were at the Exchange Park, probably playing cup ball or something like that. But man, most people can tell you where they were when that was going on. I think I had covered the Sounds and the Redbirds in a day game down in Memphis and was back in the hotel trying to watch the Knicks and Rockets. And it was being preempted by the Chase. Low speed car pursuit.
Yeah, low speed car pursuit. And if you haven't seen it, or our viewers hadn't seen it, that is one of the great 30 for 30 documentaries. It's just simply called June 17th, 1994. And they break all of that down, including you remember the Expos were getting ready. I mean, they were flying that year in Major League Baseball, which obviously ended up not finishing its season
because of a strike.
But man, they break everything down in there. They talk about the Rangers and their Stanley Cup Finals run. I mean, it is a fantastic documentary, and I can't remember specifically where I was, but I remember hearing about the chase. And man, 30 years ago, time just absolutely flies. Crazy situation. What is this? I had to pull this up too. Arnold Palmer. Now this is crazy. Arnold Palmer was finishing his round at the U.S. Open, which was interesting because Arnold Palmer and O.J. Simpson had done those Hertz commercials back in the day. So, I mean, there's just a lot of just wild parallels that are all kind of mentioned in this 30 for 30. Came out in 2010. And just a crazy day. Ken Griffey Jr., as we've discussed, man, I mean, there was a lot of just wild events going on that day.
Yeah, Griffey Jr. tied Babe Ruth with 30 home runs before the end of June. 24 years old, Ken Griffey Jr. That's nuts.
And and also related in the FX dramatized version of the O.J. Simpson documentary, there are a couple great scenes where they show the network executives, probably not too far how this really played out in real life, but they're debating, how to cover the chase and cover the Rockets series. Because, I mean, that's a wild phenomenon that you had to try and balance there. And the FX show certainly has a little more colorful take on it than probably what really went down, but it's also probably not too far removed as well.
I like the phrase that you used, though, dramatized.
There's no doubt. That is an outstanding series with Cuba Gooding Jr. playing OJ.
That's interesting.
And then was it John Travolta plays Bob Shapiro? Man, it is worth checking out. I watched it when it came out, and I just rewatched it not too long after the OJ news came down with his passing a couple weeks ago. Man, it is just a wild day to think about as we led off this show talking about how kind of slow this time of the year can be for sports. And so many events all happened simultaneously.
Yeah. Call the Birmingham Stallions a dynasty.
Ooh.
Scored inside the final minute of the first half yesterday, and then added 2 more touchdowns and a field goal to defeat San Antonio 25-0 to win their 3rd consecutive league championship, their first in the United Football League after winning back-to-back in the USFL the previous 2 years. Again, scoreless ball game for the first 29 minutes and some change before Birmingham capped a 69-yard drive, and then scored 2 more touchdowns in the second half, and San Antonio just couldn't get anything done offensively. The top 2 defenses in the league, San Antonio was the top defense in the league, but Birmingham has been playing really well offensively all year behind quarterback Adrian Martinez. I think he's threw for a touchdown, ran for 1, ran for 2. Martinez did. The league's MVP, by the way, and the championship game MVP. So,
for a franchise that is, talk about a dominant franchise for a team that I've not seen a single second play during any of their 3 titles. I got to give them my props.
I watched a little bit of yesterday's game, actually. Leading the San Antonio defense is a name, an infamous name among Tennessee fans, Tease Tabor, the former Florida cornerback that they all love to hate. So
is that the infamous Florida the shoe throw as well?
No, that was a linebacker, I think, against LSU. I remember that.
Yeah,
no, that was a different dude. Yeah,
I was thinking that was him for some reason. Yeah, I remember hearing the name quite a bit, and public enemy number 1 at times.
No doubt. Yeah. We mentioned the Nashville Soccer Club going on the road and playing to another scoreless draw. We will be checking in with Heather later this week. Ryan Blaney picked up the win out at Iowa over the weekend, and so yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Larson, DNF. She's going to be singing the blues after propping him up a little bit last week.
Well, he's easy to prop up, but yeah, that tough one for him this weekend. That's going to do it for this Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today. Tomorrow, we will be joined by Chip Walters as we talk all things MTSU and efforting on a second guest, whoever it is. I'm sure they'll be fun. Wade and I will be here with you from 2 to 4, talking sports of local, regional, and national interest. So be sure and tune in. 2 o'clock, Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will see you right here in the Lee Company studios. We'll have a great Monday evening.